Hello there, Mad Mike here, and welcome back to the channel. And today, since it is a slow news day and since I haven't done an update on it in a little while, I am going to do another movie spotlight. And I know technically it's November 1st, but I really do enjoy this horror movie. It's one of my it's one of my favorite Friday the 13th ripoff slashers because there's a whole plethora of those. But today we're going to talk about The Burning from 1981. Now, this was a Friday the 13th ripoff. It has a lot of the same elements that Friday the 13th had. It takes place in the woods. It's about a summer camp. A lot of the ideas. The kids in the movie are supposed to be older. They're not camp counselors. They're people that are actually at the camp for the most part. Some of them are counselors, but it's supposed to be a camp for teens and young adults and stuff like that. It has actually a very young Jason Alexander in his first film role, which is really hilarious. Because if you think of the continuity with him and George Costanza, if this was like the beginning of George Costanza, that would be kind of funny. But the movie really it picks itself up to the point where you know you the way that it really shines through is through the kills. And the kills in this movie are really, really good. They're all-time classic. The special effects in this movie are really great. I don't remember who actually did the special effects for the film, but it's a really, really good kind of physical effect. I wouldn't say it's necessarily on Tom Savini level, but it's pretty damn close. And obviously, the killer in this, this again, 1981 was the same year that Friday the 13th Part 2 came out, where Jason was the killer. So this is came out in the exact same year, and we really get to see kind of what the the comparison can be, because it has the same basic kind of idea over a guy. It's basically about a man who was horribly scarred due to some kids playing a prank on him that went wrong, and he got lit on fire, and now he's all like, he looks like a burn victim and stuff like that. And he basically decides to exact his revenge on these kids at the summer camp, and it is amazingly good to kind of watch these. And it's for some reason this film seems it's a lot dirtier than Friday the 13th. By that I don't necessarily mean the content, but I do mean the just like the look of the film. It doesn't feel this feels like it was filmed on site, very, very low budget. That the film quality is a bit less than Friday the 13th. It's a little grainier, almost kind of like on the level of like a sleepaway camp, something like that, which again was another kind of Friday the 13th type of ripoff. But it does some things where visually it separates itself, and maybe not in an intentional way, but you kind of get what I mean by that by in terms of the film stock. And the other thing is this again, this is a movie that was really it wasn't anything that was too insane. It did break the genre, but like I said, the kills are really where it's separated, especially one specific sequence where the killer is it's a great sequence, it's a great setup, and then the kills that happen after, it's just a massacre, and it's amazing. There are some kills that are, there are some single kills that are sprinkled throughout the film for the most part, but this one sequence where it's just a bloodbath is fucking amazing, and that's really what this movie is known for, is that essentially that one sequence that's about 30 to 45 seconds, but it's such a great sequence. Well, the kills themselves are like 30 to 45 seconds, but the scene itself builds up for about 5-6 minutes, and it really does work. I think that scene is really the reason, again, the reason why it's remembered. Kind of like Sleepaway Camp, where the last scene of the movie is the reason why a lot of people remember that film. But this movie is just it's so kind of bizarre in the way that it is filmed. It's almost again it has a different method of its filming than Friday the 13th, where Friday the 13th a lot of the times you had the whole the POV shots, which you have a little bit of that here, but not very much of it. And you have all of the stuff where the killer's running around, and it's not to the extent that Friday the 13th Part 2 did with Jason, where they keep him in there's a fair amount of him running around, and you have the POV shots and stuff like that. Really, the killer is kind of in the background for a vast majority of the film. You don't really see him at all, and even when you do see him, a lot of the times it's a silhouette or it's something like that, or he's covered. Except for the very beginning parts of the film, because I think they want to make sure that you focus on the kids and what's happening with the kids more than what's happening with the killer. Because again, kind of the idea that the kids are kind of trying to live their lives and stuff like that. It's a weird kind of mix of like a teen or young adult drama mixed in with a slasher film. Whereas most of the time when you look at these type of films, they're really a lot of them are just kind of, the kids are just the cannon fodder, the teenagers are just the cannon fodder for the killer, and you really don't get to know a whole lot about them. Now, you don't know a whole shit ton about them in this movie either, but they do accentuate on a few of the characters specifically, and there's, drama between them and stuff like that. Again, it's a bunch of horny kids running around in the woods, so I get the idea. But like I said, I think that that's really where it separates itself, is with those kills and with that atmosphere and with that grainy kind of dirty look. Just kind of, again, it makes you feel a bit more real. In addition to the fact the actors in the film don't necessarily really look like film actors. Again, Friday the 13th, a lot of them, I wouldn't say they were overly attractive either, but I mean, you can recognize Kevin Bacon in that movie. I mean, this one, all you really have is Jason Alexander, and he has hair and not glasses, and he's very young and thin, so it's kind of hard to recognize him as George Costanza, other than the way that he speaks. But again, it's a fun little slasher movie. If you're a fan of slasher movies, I would advise you pick it up, or give it a watch somewhere if it's available on a streaming service, because it is at least worth one watch. I have the Blu-ray of it because I particularly do enjoy the film. Again, especially the climax at the ending and that one kill scene in the middle. But it's a slasher thing. It's a thing that slasher lovers really like, and some of those Friday the 13th ripoffs did it very well. Others did it very poorly, but I think The Burning did it very well, and I think that's why I recommend this movie for people that kind of like that genre and like that atmosphere. And just a forewarning, in case anybody is overly sensitive about it, I mean, I don't really care about it because, again, it's a movie. I can separate the art from the artist, but the movie was actually written and produced. It was the first movie to be produced by Harvey Weinstein, and it was also written by him. So it is kind of weird in a certain sense when you're watching the film if you know that in the background. But I want to know what you think. Do you think you'd like to watch this movie? Do you like slashers? Have you seen The Burning? Do you like it? Do you think it's just a cheapo ripoff, or do you think it kind of separates itself enough where it can exist as its own movie without, having the Friday the 13th moniker kind of following it around? I'd like to know what you're thinking, so put that in the comments. Hit the bell for notifications, hit the like button, subscribe, and remember, I live my life free of compromise. Do you?